All right, how's that? Do we have sound now, guys? I hope we do. Sound? Let me know if you're hearing anything, folks. Do we have some sound going on over there? Oh, there we go. All right, great. So sorry about that. See, this is this is what happens when you're doing it on your own shoestring budget. We don't have CNN money over here. So anyway, all right. So that took care of the little bit of time that we hope you needed to share this video around. Now that we've got our technical issues worked out, we hope, and to invite some friends to this video, because I did talk about the Roseanne controversy earlier today, and I talked about it at some length, and it was really interesting, and we're really going to hit this and just go away and just walk away from it, because I'm kind of tired of talking about it, because I don't quite understand some reasoning for people not being, for people not seeing what Roseanne Barr tweeted as racist.
Yeah, why they're not taking it as seriously as they should be taking it.
Right. I mean, because what I talked about earlier today is that basically people are saying that, because some people are saying that because they don't like Valerie Jarrett, that the target of Roseanne Barr's tweet is politically objectionable to them for a number of reasons, whatever those reasons are, then they don't really care what Roseanne said. But see, that's the problem when you make people's racist or sexist or homophobic or transphobic or Islamophobic or whatever kind of hateful behavior people exhibit. That's the problem when you make the behavior about the target, and you're trying to make the target worthy of your support. See, we saw this with Stephon Clark, right? With where you had some black women who, because 3 years ago Stephon Clark tweeted some nasty things about dark-skinned black women, you had black women who were like, well, I don't care that he was shot by the police then. Right. Never mind that the police should not be shooting anybody 20 times. In the back. 8 times in the back. 8 times in the back. That should not happen to anybody. But see, when you make the offense about the victim rather than the wrongness of the offense itself, that's what you run into. You've got this litmus test that you're always trying to use or apply to the victims to make sure that the victims are morally upstanding enough for you to care about them and for you to care what was done to them. And that's really dangerous, because then that kind of calls into question, what in my past would people hold against me if somebody didn't like it and decided...
Well, I mean, it's nothing new. I mean, I can remember Rosa Parks being chosen over... I can't remember the lady's name, but
Claudette.
Was
it Colvin?
Colvin, I believe. Who was first? Well, I won't say the first, but she was a 16-year-old pregnant, teenager who first, before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. Claudette Colvin did it first. Right. And because she didn't fit the criteria, what they thought was a respectable enough victim, with the Montgomery Bus Company, they felt that they would make her lifestyle an issue. Right. And I think that so this stuff goes back. I mean, there's, especially when it comes to black people and the way that we went up against white supremacy. Some of the strategy from those who sought to fight that have always been to say, well, okay, let's get someone who the racists can't really attack and distract from the issue. Right.
So when people talk about the fact that they don't like Valerie Jarrett. So
do they even know why they don't like Valerie Jarrett?
Well, some people have.
Let's really talk about that. Do people even really understand why they don't like Valerie Jarrett?
I mean, some people do have valid reasons for why they do not like Valerie Jarrett. I mean, because she apparently was involved or invested in some basically low income, shady slumlord housing. Okay. I'm not, something along those lines. And of course, because she's an establishment Democrat, people automatically just think she's the devil. Or they think she's an establishment Democrat, or she worked for an establishment. Like I said earlier today, Valerie Jarrett was the head of the White House Office of Public Relations and Intergovernmental Affairs, or something like that.
Sounds important.
Well, I mean, she was pretty much the PR person for the White House. And I'm not saying she had no authority to do anything. I'm just saying that people are vilifying her because of what she didn't do, what they didn't see her do, right? Like, so one person said earlier today, well, did she come out in defense of the black woman who was assaulted in Waffle House? Well, I don't know. I wasn't looking to see whether Valerie Jarrett tweeted about that or not. I don't know. But that can't be our standard.
Right.
That cannot be our standard as to whether we confront racism or not. Whether people who are the targets of racism behave in a way that we approve of for the reasons we approve of and for the people we approve. Either white people commit acts of racism and they need to be challenged every time, or they don't, and we need to leave white people alone, and we need to stop saying that racism is a problem. We cannot have it both ways, because we don't like the targets. Now, there is a time and a place and a context to challenge the politics of people like Valerie Jarrett.
Right. Well, she's been around 8 years.
Yeah.
In the Obama administration.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said earlier, we have challenged Obama's politics many times for a long time. And we've also challenged the racism that has been leveled at him that had nothing to do with his politics and was all about the fact that he was the black guy in the White House.
Right.
So you can dislike Valerie Jarrett's politics. And you can also dislike the fact that Roseanne Barr made a racist joke that was targeted at anybody. Didn't matter who it was. But the fact that Roseanne Barr made a racist joke, that's the issue.
First of all, it wasn't a joke. I ain't seen nothing funny about it.
How about that? How about that? It wasn't. It was a sad, sorry, disgusting attempt at humor. Roseanne Barr being the type of comedian she is. I mean, let's not forget, if people do not remember, let's not forget that in 2009, she posed. That's her idea of comedy.
I mean, she's Jewish.
Yeah.
So I mean, it shows you what type of mentality she has, being a Jew and and participating in that kind of imagery. Right.
So this is the type of person that people are defending. And like I said earlier, it was not the first time she compared a black woman to an ape. She did it to Susan Rice, and I don't agree with Susan Rice's policies either, but she was out of line then too, because you can attack a person's politics without attacking the person personally, especially in a racist manner. There's no call for that. And then I forgot earlier today, and I think people have downplayed the fact that Roseanne also attacked Arabs in her comment, because the other half of her. So you mean to tell me, because you hate Valerie Jarrett so much, whether your reasons are valid or not, you hate Valerie Jarrett so much that it's okay for somebody to joke that Iranian people are members of the Muslim Brotherhood? That it's okay that Iranian people are the butt of that kind of Iranians are terrorist jokes. That's cool with you? That's no. And on top of that, and then we're going to move away from this ridiculousness. Because, see, this issue has taken up so much airtime and so much attention that a lot of other really important stuff has been obscured that we're going to talk about. But now people are saying that Valerie Jarrett doesn't need to be defended when this is not about Valerie Jarrett and defending her at all. But people are now ignoring the fact that the same person that they're giving a pass for her racist joke, for her Islamophobic joke, is now blaming Wanda Sykes. Mm-hmm. She's blaming.
Well, she blamed Ambien first.
She blamed Ambien, and that's I was personally offended by that because I take Ambien at least 4 nights a week, and I've never woken up and had a racist episode where I've wanted to tweet about white people being cave beasts. It's just never happened. And then Ambien, the company, I think it's Sanofi, tweeted that, you know, our drug may have lots of side effects, and a lot of people take Ambien, but racism is not one of the side effects. That was hilarious. But now she's blaming Wanda Sykes. She's blaming her co-stars for throwing her under the bus. She's blaming Michelle Obama because of some tweet that some of her conservative support. Remember that Roseanne Barr is a staunch Trump supporter, and that's no reason to just dismiss her. But it is important in the context of what's going on now. Conservative Twitter has put out this idea that Michelle Obama called what's her name, the head of the woman who's in charge of the Roseanne show, who actually Dungy, right. Who's a black woman, that Michelle Obama called this woman and had this long conversation with her and convinced her to cancel this show. There's no evidence of that. There's no proof of that. It's not true. But Roseanne retweeted that now. So, look, y'all want to dislike Valerie Jarrett and her politics all you want to. That's fine. This isn't about Valerie Jarrett. This is about a white woman who said a hateful, Islamophobic, racist thing about an Iranian black woman. And that is the beginning and the end of that. I mean, that really is it. Now, you want to criticize the politics of black people? Mm-hmm. We can do that. Absolutely. Because there are local, state level races, because we're about in the midterms, right?
But I want to go back a little bit.
Okay.
With the Roseanne thing.
Okay.
And the reason why I think that this is really important, mm-hmm. because it appears, and we've seen this since Trump's election, there appears to be this rush. I won't say rush, but there appears to be this culture of mm-hmm. Using social media and using it in the way of exposing your bigotry, mm-hmm. Of whatever it is, whether it's against people of color, mm-hmm. whether it's against religion. And it seems to be that Trump is setting this tone. Mm. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
because she has, forget about the character Roseanne. Uh-huh. Roseanne Barr, the actress, is a known Trump supporter.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that it appears to be that Trump has set the tone of people like Roseanne feeling free to express this sort of bigotry, this xenophobia, mm-hmm. all of these things. Because you have xenophobia and you have racism mm-hmm. in Roseanne's remarks. Right. Muslim Brotherhood, and mm-hmm. she said something about Planet Apes, which is definitely insulted black people. But you had other people before Roseanne that have took to Twitter, that have took to social media, and have said the same thing mm-hmm. and had to walk it back. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is that what I'm witnessing, what Trump did was say, well, ABC said something bad about me, and they never apologized.
Right.
This is the same reaction he has had every time there seems to be an incident where race is discussed. Obama, before him, was reluctant to talk about race.
Yes, he was.
Right?
Yes, that's true.
So Obama was reluctant to talk about race.
Mm-hmm.
But Trump seems to not be reluctant to talk about it. He just ignores it.
Right, right.
So it's not about what Roseanne said about Valerie Jarrett. It's not about what happened in Charlottesville, where they're you know, where he took this stance where, well, there's good people on both sides, and
right.
You know. So what I'm saying is that Trump is basically he knows that there's a large part of his base that feels the way Roseanne feels.
Yes, that could.
And
yes.
he doesn't want to alienate them.
Right.
So what he does is he does this little tightrope thing where he just won't talk about it.
Right.
And so what I'm seeing is that it's sort of like a sort of wink, wink, nod, nod to say, like, well, look, you know you shouldn't have said that, but you're not going to get anything from me.
Right.
So,
right.
So, but Obama, but see, these were the same people, Jackie, that lambasted Obama because Obama was supposed to heal the racial division in this country.
Magic Negro.
Obama was supposed to bring everybody together. And they blamed him when that didn't happen. Well, of course he couldn't have did it.
Right.
But then you got Trump, on the other hand, who makes it a point to ignore these issues. And instead of dealing with what Roseanne said, instead of dealing with the thing with the NFL and Kaepernick, he would always take the side, when we start talking about the NFL, he would take the side and say that those guys are wrong.
Right.
But again, whether Trump feels this way or not, he's appealing to his base.
Exactly.
He knows that he can't come out on the side of Kaepernick. He knows that because he got into office based upon xenophobia. Most of the people that put him in there, when we looked at the primaries, when he was running for president, most of his supporters were saying he's going to build that wall.
That's
and that was the basic symbol of their xenophobia.
That is absolutely right.
Right. That
is absolutely right. So like I said, dismissing the fact that Roseanne Barr is a Trump supporter that's a huge mistake in this discussion about what she tweeted and how she's responding now to her tweets. So, you know, you said something earlier that that how much media attention has gone to this story.
They did a survey, or however they measure these kind of things. I don't know. But it was reported today that the mainstream media, cable news, spent 30 minutes on the 5,000 people who are known to have died from the hurricane, and they spent 10 hours on Roseanne. 10 hours on Roseanne. 30 minutes went to Puerto Rico. Now, when we talk about Puerto Rico, we're not just talking about how they undercounted the fatalities,
right.
We're also talking about an island that the United States government said you're on your own.
That's right. That's right.
And 30 minutes of cable news time was donated to that story.
Right. Now, that's a perfect segue into talking about these 5,000 deaths that have been estimated to have, to have been responsible to the last hurricane was responsible for.
Maria, I think.
Right. So I think the official estimates, the official initial estimates were like under 100 deaths.
Oh yeah,
or something like that,
yeah.
right?
I mean, this was before they told the truth.
Right. This was before they told the truth, and now that a Harvard study has, and I'm not going to share the screen with you tonight because we're having some weird glitchy issues, and I don't want to lose y'all. But of course, we're going to give you the links to these so you can read these articles for yourself. A study puts the Puerto Rico death toll from Hurricane Maria near 5,000. This was reported yesterday. And this is from NPR. Now, of course, look, we can find an issue with every news source. But NPR is a lot more reputable than CNN and MSNBC and any other mainstream media source when it comes to hurricane, when it comes to Puerto Rico coverage. So this was from the 29th. Perhaps 5,000 people died in Puerto Rico in 2017 for reasons related to September's Hurricane Maria, according to a study that dismisses the official death toll of 64. The official death toll from Hurricane Maria was 64 people. I mean, whoever literally walked around the streets of Puerto Rico and counted the bodies they could physically see. And they could physically see 64. But this study has shown that this number is a substantial underestimate of the deaths that resulted from Hurricane Maria. A research team led by scientists at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health didn't simply attempt to count dead bodies in the wake of the powerful storm. Instead, they surveyed randomly chosen households and asked the occupants about their experiences. From that approach, they concluded that between September 20th and December 31st, 2017, there were 4,645 excess deaths. That is, deaths that would not have occurred if the island hadn't been plunged into a prolonged disaster following the devastating storm.
Well, we've seen that before played out. And
well,
they did that in New Orleans with Katrina.
Yes, they did.
So in New Orleans, they did the same thing. They undercounted the casualties in New Orleans. They lied about what caused the levees to break.
Yes, they did.
You know, and it's the same way in Puerto Rico. See, what people don't understand is that we didn't need this Harvard study to see this. We didn't need it because if anybody was watching the news that day when Hurricane Maria was coming across the Caribbean, if anybody was watching that day, you would see that Hurricane Maria, which was one of the biggest storms that we have ever seen, basically passed over the island of Puerto Rico. Right. What I mean is that it literally, the eye of the storm, everything passed over Puerto Rico. Anybody who knows about Puerto Rico knows that Puerto Rico is basically a poor island. Right. And by being poor, they did not have any infrastructure that could protect them from a storm that large. So we didn't need the Harvard study to tell us that only 64 people died. You got to be a fool to have believed that.
Exactly. And then on top of that, on top of our experience with Katrina, then we have our experience with Hurricane Harvey in Houston. Right. And something that came out in another article. Where is it? Oh, I think I lost it. But I did make a note of it. The fact that federal aid to poor communities is so abysmal compared to federal aid like from FEMA that is given to middle class communities, people with a little bit of money to pay for flood insurance, right? People with a little bit of money to hire a decent contractor to make up the difference in what they will get from federal emergency assistance. That another study has come out that shows that FEMA assistance basically doesn't even exist. It doesn't operate to help people who are not already middle class. And that's for one major reason, flood insurance. Because most poor people cannot afford the exorbitant cost of flood insurance. And a few years ago, FEMA changed its rules for approving aid requests from floods and natural disasters, where they would automatically deny your claim if you did not have flood insurance and you lived in a flood zone. Well, what we've seen in places like Houston, and I don't think this was in place in Katrina, but it was in Houston when Harvey hit. Houston is a flood zone. But insurance companies or mortgage companies are real shady with the way they notify homeowners. Because we've seen this with our insurance company, with our mortgage company. They will either just secretly add this flood insurance to your mortgage payment. And our mortgage company was actually sued. There was a class action lawsuit against them for doing this because they didn't notify the mortgage holders that they were going to do this. So there's all this extra money on your mortgage payment, and you're like, what the heck is this? And they didn't tell you about it, they didn't ask you about it, and you can't afford it. So maybe you don't pay the whole payment, and then your flood insurance lapses.
Mm-hmm.
Or
in the case of New Orleans during Katrina, where companies like State Farm just outright just didn't pay it.
Right, just would not pay claims, which is what happened also in Houston, where some people didn't know they required flood insurance, and some people knew and couldn't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And those people who did not have flood insurance, over 80% of them were in poor, largely Black and Hispanic neighborhoods. FEMA denied almost 90% of the claims from those neighborhoods. Right. So those people are living in flood-destroyed homes, if they're still there. And if they're not still there, then they're probably homeless or living in some shelter, or maybe with family and friends. So that is the kind of situation where we're seeing is happening also in Puerto Rico, where the federal government, on a much larger scale than FEMA, tells Puerto Rico, you're on your own. Because, like you said, it's a poor country. It's a poor territory.
Right.
Because let's not forget that Puerto Rico is a United States territory.
Well, and then Puerto Rico also, before Maria came, Puerto Rico was also weakened by the fact that instead of the government ruling like it should, its own territory, they turned Puerto Rico over to Wall Street.
Yes, they did.
So Wall Street was the one that was basically causing the bankruptcy of Puerto Rico, the economic hardships of Puerto Rico, and even today, federal aid is slow in coming because Trump did not exempt them
from the loans,
from their financial obligations to these to the Wall Street bankers.
Right. So listen, we talked about neoliberalism a lot on Brick by Brick. We talk about it a lot on this show. If you don't think that Puerto Rico is being set up to be raised and gentrified, you don't understand how neoliberalism works. And the same thing is true for the neighborhoods in Houston after Harvey, who are not receiving any federal aid from FEMA. Same thing is going to happen to them that happened to the poor Black neighborhoods in New Orleans after Katrina. Exact same thing. But because this wasn't reported in the news, with the exception of 30 minutes of overall coverage, we don't know this is happening. And Puerto Rico is still without full electricity. They're not receiving federal aid. People are going hungry. That they don't even have shipments of cash to banks. People can't even get their money out of banks in order to shop for food. That's how desperate things are in Puerto Rico.
Yet the Department of Defense had declared that it was no longer necessary for the Army to continue to assist in the in these search and rescue and all those things that the Army was participating in. So they determined that Puerto Rico's good.
Right.
Y'all don't need to be there anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that what we've been seeing and what we have been seeing for the last couple of decades, let's be clear. This has not started under Trump.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to have a memory that goes back past 2016.
Yeah.
This did not start under Trump. We understand that when we see examples with Katrina, when we see examples of and even not the natural disasters always, even with let's say corporate disasters.
Yeah.
Like some of the poor communities up in Pennsylvania that has suffered under fracking. That's
a great point.
Right. So what we're seeing is, and this happened in the last couple of decades, what we're seeing is the fact that that government has consistently shown that it's not interested in the welfare, the safety, the lives of those who are not in a certain economic class.
Yep. That is true, and we can keep blaming this on Trump and Trump voters all we want to, but like you said, this is not new. And another story that proves this is not new. Like a friend of ours posted about her friend who was on a bus, on a Greyhound bus, and an ICE agent stopped the bus, got on the bus, just asking people, where they were born and for ID. I don't think the ICE agent asked people for ID, but the ICE agent asked people, where were they from, or where were they born, or whatever. And, people have been posting a lot about ICE agents doing this now. Mm-hmm. But let's be clear about something. Now, I'm not saying that what happened to a friend of ours, and I'll share a link to the story with you, because they were the ICE agents seemed to particularly target this one older black lady who, I guess, she just looked too exotic for them. So I guess they were just like, she can't be from here. So they harassed her in particular. But people are making this about something new that ICE is doing under Donald Trump. It's not. This is another one of those things that was going on actually under the Obama administration. There is an article that I pulled up from the Miami Herald. This is from August 2011. Undocumented immigrants may face ID checks on Amtrak and Greyhound. As a Greyhound bus departed to leave a small town near Atlanta, there was a 19-year-old lady, undocumented lady, who was traveling, and she was indeed detained. 3 U.S. Border Patrol agents boarded the bus in Atlanta, announcing they would be checking IDs. This was in 2011, y'all. And this young woman was detained 76 days in a federal immigration center, which became one of the fast-growing number of undocumented detention centers that popped up around the country. Immigration searches, and this is directly from the article in 2011, immigration searches on public transportation sites are not well publicized. They weren't then, but they are now. Border Patrol agents generally protect the border or coastline, and I understand they have like jurisdiction within 100 miles of any border or coast to board public transportation and that kind of stuff. But Steve Kribbe, spokesperson for U.S. Customs and Border Protection, remember this is in 2011, says agents have the authority to conduct immigration checks in public places, and checks on Greyhound buses and Amtrak are meant to disrupt human smuggling activities into the country's interior, he said. Now, we're going to probably give you a link to that article too, but I wanted to use that article to piggyback on the point you just made about how what's happening in Puerto Rico is not new because Donald Trump is all of a sudden doing it. No, Puerto Rico was being jerked around and crapped on under Obama and before him too. The ICE agents who are boarding buses and harassing people on Greyhound and Amtrak and on planes, that's not happening because of Trump. It was happening under Obama too.
Who deported, I think, who bear the distinction of deporting the most people than any president before him.
Up to that point, we joked in as much as you can joke that for somebody to deport more people than Barack Obama did, they would have to be deporting on some kind of steroids. Trump might have done it by now. I don't know, but Obama deported a lot of people, and one of the ways he was able to do that were these ICE raids on public transportation, on Greyhound and Amtrak buses. So while I do think we need to question the legitimacy of these kinds of actions, we need to step back for a minute and be real clear that these things are not suddenly being done out of nowhere because Donald Trump is a racist and all of a sudden, all this racist stuff is being done. No, these were policies that were carried out under the previous administration. The only thing new, what do we say about police violence? The only thing new, it's always been happening. The only thing new is the cameras.
That's it.
Only thing new is the cameras.
Now, it's being captured.
So, all right. So, how about in that vein, the only thing new being the cameras? So we all know that we've been fighting police brutality and the extrajudicial killings of black and brown and native and poor white people, and now the police are punching nice sleeping white ladies sleeping on the beach in the face in New Jersey now, in Wildwood, New Jersey. So a Florida jury, this blew my mind, but then again, I had to check myself and be like, are you serious? Did you really think anything else was going to happen? A Florida jury awarded the family of a black man who was shot to death by a police officer in the black man's own garage.
Now, mind you, now he was answering a call because someone said that the black man was playing his music too loud.
Right.
So that was the call that was being answered.
In his own garage.
In his own garage. The officer showed up, and somehow he was able to shoot and kill this man through a keyhole.
Wait, huh?
Through a keyhole in the garage. Through a small opening in the garage.
What?
Some reports say that it was through a small opening in the garage that he was able to shoot this guy. But apparently, even after all of that, even after the black man who was on his own property, the fact that it was a BS call, which is usually kind of, police call it maybe a public disturbance or, so I mean, it's not really a major call.
It is not.
Not nothing to get killed over.
No.
So, but apparently, in spite of all of that, the jury awarded the family first $4. Then they found out that the officer wasn't responsible, so they took the $4 and reduced it down. The $4 was the fact to help pay for his funeral, and that each of his kids would get $1. Then they went back and said, well, wait a minute, the officer's not even responsible. So that $4, y'all got to give that back, and then we'll give you 4 cents.
I'm trying. I'm trying to get past all the cuss words. So give me a minute. There is nowhere in this country, I don't think there's anywhere on this planet where you can bury somebody, anybody, where you can bury anything for $1. The effort it takes to take my shovel and dig a hole, that's more than $1. But this jury in Florida awarded the family of a man who was shot dead by the police because some person called the police because that man was playing his music too loud in his own house.
In his house on his property.
Awarded the family of that man $1 for the funeral.
Yep.
Then they award his children, because the question was, how much should the family, the children, be compensated for the loss of their father? For his guidance, for his love, for his companionship. They gave his 2 kids $1 each. And then those bastards took it back. Now, why are we telling you this? Because in this conversation that we are perpetually having in this country about racism, in all its many forms, whether it's a racist joke tweeted by Roseanne Barr, or it is NFL players kneeling during the anthem to protest the exact thing that led to this man's family being handed down this ridiculous award from this jury. If this action from this jury does not make it clear to you just how little white people in this country value black life. I mean, they literally put a dollar amount on the life of this man.
Somebody had to decide that.
So they decided. The question, I read the question. The question was, how much should his children be compensated for the loss of their father? These people said $1 each. And then they took that back. So all of these conversations that people want to have about how much they don't like the target of somebody's racist words or actions, we can deal with their behavior later. But racism is the problem that we're focusing on here. And if we ever lose sight of that, we're gonna keep having to deal with this. This is really just like the what do you call it? The manifesto on what white America believes is the value of black life. That's what this jury verdict is to us. That's what it is to us.
Well, I think it should be more of a wake up call to black people. You know, I mean, we can sit up here and say, you know, what white folks think about blacks, and the fact that, you know, a mostly white jury, because I'm sure it wasn't no blacks on that jury, but say mostly white jury awarded this insulting verdict. I think that it should be more of a wake up call for black people, because a lot of these things, Jackie, are the result of black people not being smart with politics.
Ooh, come on now.
I mean, if you know, they would never, that same jury would never have done that if the person was Jewish. Even though Jews make up a smaller percentage than we do in this country, they would not have done that if it was a dog.
How about
if that officer would have killed somebody's dog in the garage, that family would have got more than 4 fucking cents. But the fact that black people in this country have not been smart with politics, that black people in this country have relied too much on morality, and have relied too much on appealing to the moral conscience of white America. You know, we're gonna make you. We want you to see how wrong it is. Man, we've been trying to make them fucking see this for 400 years, and here you talking about somebody being gunned down in their garage, and then all you get is 4 cents. I guarantee you, all of this is a result because we, as a community, have not been smart with politics. We had let white liberals dictate for us.
Yes, that's right.
We have let the Democratic Party dictate for us. We had let all of these other people dictate for us while we're being led by the nose by white liberals, progressives, Democrats, and everybody else, only to get the numbers. Because that's all we represent to them is the numbers. And then once they get in there, then I say it's our fault, because once they get in there, there is no a committee of black people. Forget the CBC, because they're all sellouts. There has not been a caravan of us. You got 96% of our vote. You got this job because we came out 96 to 98% for you. This is what we want. Right.
That's right.
And if we don't get this, don't bother coming to another barbecue. Don't bother coming to another church service. Don't bother coming to this. And see, what happens is that we have to evolve our politics and stop allowing people who have their own self-interest. I'm talking about these black leaders, these pastors, and these black leaders. We have to say, nah, you don't represent us.
Right.
Because if you can't take this agenda, and if you can't take this agenda and rock with this and represent this, you don't represent us.
That's
you don't
right.
get to tell us who to vote for. Because for the past 40 freaking years, my neighborhood hasn't changed.
That's right.
For the past 40 years, we're still living with bad schools. We're still living with dilapidated housing. We're still living with crime-ridden areas and stuff. The only thing that got better is the church. There's a new wing on the church.
Yep.
There's a new this and new that, but we haven't gotten better. You do not get to represent us.
Man.
And until we as black people understand that politics is not about having people getting... Politics is not about getting people to like you.
Yes.
And we've done that too long. It's not about getting people to like you. It's not about getting people to be comfortable with you. It's not about people approving your agenda.
That's right. That's right.
And so until we understand that, we are still going, as they used to say on the street, we are still going to get played.
And listen, we are, once again, we are looking at, now we're going to go to the midterms.
Right.
Because that was perfect. Exactly what you said about this black political misleadership class that we have. These people who've been in office, the Congressional Black Caucus, and those folks who do not represent most of us, who are backing establishment candidates. Now here is where we criticize black politicians. Because see, as much as John Lewis gets on my nerves, and I need for him to go home and retire.
He should have been went home.
He should have been went home and retired. Maxine Waters should have went home and retired. A bunch of them should have went home, retired. Eleanor Holmes Norton, D.C. representative, she should have retired a long time. What? Should have retired. As much as I take issue with their politics, you still can't call them people niggas.
Right.
No. You cannot talk about how you can't compare them to monkeys and apes. You can't make Planet of the Apes jokes about them. You can talk about their politics, which is exactly the problem right now in the midterms with Congressional Black Caucus leaders who are supporting establishment Democrats. And it's especially troubling because some of these people are supporting old white men. Now, I know that there are a bunch of hashtag movements going around. Oh, trust black women. Me too. Look, I don't trust all of any group of people. I just don't.
I don't trust Muriel Bowser.
I don't trust all black women because there's a black woman who's mayor in D.C. right now, and I don't trust that. She's proven to be untrustworthy. So, no, I can't trust all black women. Not on all kinds of stuff. Nope. But it's problematic. It is disturbing to me when black so-called political leaders support very corporate focused old white establishment Democrat politicians who are running against vibrant, young, progressive, justice focused black, especially women politicians. Are y'all Maine? No, is it Maine? Massachusetts. I'm sorry. This is from, and this was shared by our friend Noah Shanga, who I swear we really are gonna try to get her on the show. Our schedules are nuts, and they're like 8 people who we are trying to get on this show to talk to, but there's so much work to do and there's so much going on. It's really hard to pin people down. But she shared this evening right before we went on, and I saw this, and I knew we had to talk about this. This is from the Boston Globe.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, Boston.
Very familiar with the Boston Globe.
Yeah. So the story is Capuano-Presley matchup reflects division in the Democratic Party. Just 2 days after her opponent, Michael E. Capuano, basked in the endorsement of civil rights icon John Lewis in Roxbury, Ayanna Pressley ascended to the pulpit of the African Meeting House on Beacon Hill to defend her campaign and assail her critics. Capuano is, I'm sure I'm pronouncing his name wrong, Capuano is the old white guy. Ayanna Pressley is a young black woman. They're both a woman. They're both Democrats. Capuano, establishment Democrat. Pressley, progressive young black woman. Presley said in her speech at the African Meeting House on Beacon Hill, which is a church, she said, quote, "We must acknowledge that issues like systemic racism, economic inequality, and the achievement gap are the result of man-made policies. But if they were created by man, they can be disrupted by this woman," Presley declared, pointing to herself for emphasis and sparking thunderous applause, cheers, and shouts of, "That's right," because see, if you ever been to a black church, we got to talk back to our pastors and the people in the pulpit. You can't come to a black church unless it's like Lutheran, I guess. No, or maybe Methodist.
I once belonged to a black Lutheran church. They do
though they lit too?
It goes back to Africa.
Okay, so yeah, you can't come to a black church.
One of the things they didn't beat out of us.
Yeah, and like speak to a black church, and we're gonna sit there and politely nod and no, we're gonna talk back to you if we like what you have to say, because that's how we do. So she said before she made that comment, she said that she talked about her opponent's problems, the problems that the people in her opponent's district that she's running for are having. The bus rider in Chelsea who can't get to work on time, the young entrepreneur in Roxbury who needs access to capital, the survivor of sexual assault who can't get care or justice, and summon the crowd to respond each time with a resounding call of change can't wait. We're going to give you a link to that article also, and we'll probably be talking about that race tomorrow on Loud and Clear, along with a bunch of other midterm races that are going on. But see, we need black politicians to be unafraid to talk about issues that face black people.
What we need to do is replace the civil rights generation who's still hanging on to power in politics. Mm-hmm. I have all respect for John Lewis, Maxine Waters, and all from that generation. But you know, they did what they did.
Right.
You know, they contributed and they did what they did. No one can take that away from them. But they need to get out of the way.
Yeah.
They need, and I'm serious. They need to go.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't allow for new ideas. And one of the sayings is true. Power corrupts.
And absolute power corrupts absolutely.
So, you know, sometimes you could just be around too long.
Yeah. How about all the time?
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, sometimes, man, you at a party, and sometimes you be like, man, I wish this joke would leave already. I like him, man, but he's drinking up all the liquor, he eating up all the food, and he, you know, but what I'm saying is that it comes a time when you're no longer useful.
That's where we are with these people.
You know, so you're riding the coattails of what you did in the 50s. Mm-hmm. You're riding the coattails of what you did in the 60s. John Lewis is still pointing to the same hickey that he got when he crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Same knot on his head.
The same knot on the head. Every time somebody want to question his ineffectiveness, because all you got to do, if you don't believe me, all you got to do is look at the people he represent down in Georgia, I think it is. Mm-hmm. But look at the people he represent. How are they living?
Right.
This man been part of Congress, man, for decades. Mm-hmm. How are they living? Mm. So if you want to see whether he's effective or not, then go to his district.
Yep.
But let me tell you something. But every time somebody gets to point out to him and others about, man, look, we still in the same boat that we was in when you got knocked in the head. And you know what it says?
What?
He'll sit up there and he'll point to that same knot and say, I got this for you. And that's the manipulation. But see, we got to tell him, like, look, you did what you did, Lewis. You did what you did, Maxine Waters. You did what you did. That's fine. But then it comes a time, man, where you're no longer effective. And see, when I look at the Congressional Black Caucus, I look at them as no longer being effective.
Right.
You know, and like I said, all you have to do is look at who they represent and how are the districts they represent are doing. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So we got to get out of, as a community, for too long, we've been loyal to a fault. True. We've done it with Obama. We should have been put fire in Obama's ass. We should have put fire in Obama's ass when he when his first term, and he started, tap dancing and all. Right. We should have put fire in his ass. You want a second term, Negro? Yeah, we don't need Al Green. Right. You know what I mean? Right. We need a president. And it's the same way with the Congressional Black Caucus. It's the same way with some of these local politicians, even in D.C. Eleanor Holmes Norton, she needs to go. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I understand, your icon and all, but, we'll look at you in the museum. Thank you. I mean? All of your accomplishments and stuff that you did, we'll study that. But right now, you're no longer effective. Right now, it's to the point where it's just a job to you. You no longer have that passion anymore for change. Right now, you're enjoying the perks that come with the office, and you don't want to give it up. That's exactly it. So, as black people, as a community, if we ever going to start to get what we need out of the system, and I say get what we need out of the system because my opinion is that the system needs to be dismantled and rebuilt. But that's going to take bloodshed. We ain't there yet. We're not there yet. What I'm saying is that even if you feel like you can still work within the system, then black people have to stop with this loyalty that's really not getting us anywhere. We're so protective, and this is how Obama played us. We were so protective of white folks coming after Obama. They came after him. Right. They came after him, And and we know how that is. Even though Obama couldn't stand us, but we knew how it was. And we said, look, Obama, white folks gonna come after you pretty hard. You know what I mean? But we got your back. Right. And so that's what we did. Even though we know this Negro wasn't doing nothing for us, we said, look, man, we're gonna protect you from the white folks. Right. And we did what we could. You know what I mean? But instead of him treating us as the loyal and supportive demographic that we were to him, he took us for granted. Right. And that's the way a lot of these other black politicians do. They come here. They come out of the school of elitism, and they come to us poor folks who live in the 8th Ward and in the projects, and we're working 9 to 5, and we're doing what we can. We don't have the HBCU background. Right. We don't have all this other kind of stuff. So they already, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them already got contempt for us for that. They blame us because white folks look at all of us a certain way, and they blame us for that. Right. If you Negroes wasn't so trifling. If if you pulled your pants up and you acted more like this, then, white folks would treat us better. The cops won't be shooting us and all this stuff. So they blame us for that. And we don't want to admit that these same politicians that come to our neighborhood and present to us that they're on our side just based because they look like us, harbor deep resentments about us inside their heart because they basically blaming us for the reason why we're treated or seen a certain way in the society. Right. So, so the thing of it is that if y'all was just more refined, if y'all was just more of this, if y'all was just more of that, then, white folks would have pity on us. And, the cops would have pity on us. And, and they won't look at us so bad. They won't treat us so bad. They won't, they won't write nasty tweets about us and all this stuff. Roseanne might say something different. But because y'all want to do this and because y'all want... So we got to understand as a demographic that in order for us to be able to start to practice smart politics, first of all, it's not about you being black. Because I'm going to tell you something. We got to stop thinking that all white politicians ain't on our side. How about that? We got to stop thinking that. And the reason why so many of us have this opinion that white politicians aren't on our side is because of the racial politics that black politicians play. The racial politics that a lot of our religious leaders play. So the people that got our ear, they're saying, well, such and such grew up in D.C. and you know, and they come from Kenilworth and blah 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 blah, and they know us. I mean, man, you know, they used to dance to the go-go, and they used to do this and do that. But this joke ain't trying to really work for us,
right?
But then you get somebody like, because I'm a DC, I'm not a DC native. Who is the Jewish lady?
Carol Schwartz.
Carol Schwartz.
Carol
Schwartz. When I first came to DC, y'all, and they was having the mayor race at the time when I first got here. Jackie and I just got married. I listened to this Jewish woman, Carol Schwartz. Now, I don't know much about DC politics. I just moved here. But I found out that she was not new to DC politics.
No.
Been around for a while. And I listened to this woman's platform, what she wanted to do for us. What she wanted to do for the city. And I'm listening to native Washingtonians who won't give her a shot because she's white.
And not just because she was white. Let me tell you the little bit of backstory about Carol Schwartz. Carol Schwartz, now I don't know if she changed her party affiliation.
She's independent now.
She's that's right. She is. She did. She's an independent now. But Carol Schwartz was a Republican. She was a Republican Jewish lady who's been on the city council for quite some time. But there had been no fiercer supporter of DC statehood, of racial justice for black people in this city, of integrating, of making sure the police department reflected the neighborhoods that the police department patrolled, of holding police departments accountable, of making sure the fire departments reflected the neighborhoods they patrol. I mean, a supporter of fully funding DC public schools, funding affordable housing for DC. I mean, but I knew plenty of black people who would never vote for Carol Schwartz because she was white and she was a Republican. And I had always said, once I understood politics, that's shooting ourselves in the foot.
Exactly.
That's shooting ourselves in the foot. Listen, after Marion Barry, with all of his personal issues, was no longer mayor, because it was Marion Barry who set up a lot of the laws and the programs that many black people in the city benefited from, who ended up, you know, Marion Barry almost single-handedly created the black middle class in DC.
But that's what I was going to say. If you was really to look at Marion Barry's accomplishments, and I was just telling you about this, about when I was listening to a radio program about the '68 riots. Barry was very instrumental in getting a lot of black people hired in these segregated businesses back in the '60s.
Yes, he was.
And he was responsible for creating the largest black middle class in this country.
I mean, almost just single-handedly, because he became mayor and he said, okay, it doesn't make any sense that a city that is majority black doesn't have almost any black people working in the government of this city. That was true at one time. It was very true. And it was because of Marion Barry that changed. Slumlords was a huge problem. And tenants had no rights before Marion Barry. I think he went a little bit too far with some of the tenant, but
Topa and all this stuff. Responsible for that?
I think so. Yeah. But, you know, because I
got to a point, man, where some policies of Marion Barry, man, if you wanted to get a joke out of the house, you had to firebomb it.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean
but that's
and some people were able to take advantage of that.
Right.
But he did things. Marion Barry looked out for the underdog, and a lot of times Carol Schwartz was on his side. She didn't always agree with everything she did, but a lot of times that Republican Jewish lady supported the kinds of policies that a black mayor of a majority black city, arguably the most powerful city in the country, if not the world, ran for a couple of decades. And a lot of times that old Jewish white lady was on our side. And for the black voters of this city to have not given this woman a chance, I thought was a travesty. Because it opened the door for corporate Democrats like Adrian Fenty. See, we have to be careful when we want to talk about not liking people's policies. Okay, fine. We can dislike people's, you know, policies and talk about how, you know, we're not going to defend this person from racist attacks, which again, look, Racism is one thing, policy is another. Like I said, you can't lynch John Lewis because I don't like his policies.
Right.
You cannot do that. No. But if we are going to be mature politically, we do need to get beyond this weird idealistic kind of space that a lot of black people online are in, where they will say things like, well, I can align with the alt-right. Like we think we're being mature when we say stuff like that. Well, we can work together with some members of the alt-right. No, you have to understand what the alt-right is. Well, they're racist.
But see, I go back to what Malcolm said.
What's that?
When he said, how you going to work with somebody else and you can't even work with each other?
And then there's that. And then there's that.
So you want to work with the alt-right, the neo-Nazis and all them, but you can't, but we can't work with each other as far as getting an agenda together.
Right.
We can't work with each other as far as putting our politics in order. So when we talk about smart politics, and I'm here to tell our audience that my personal belief of having smart politics is that a lot of it rests with us. Yeah, we can sit up here and talk about white liberals and white progressives and all this stuff. But in the end, there is a lot of changes that we as a demographic have to make. There's some things we have to unlearn.
Yeah.
There's some things that we have to unlearn. There's some things that we have to incorporate that we've been reluctant to incorporate. There's some people we have to embrace, despite of their lifestyle.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So there's people we have to embrace because the church have told us so much in the past, and we're so ideologically bound to what a lot of us were taught in the church. And we made that the basis of every decision we make.
Yep.
So there's times when we have to embrace people who the church don't embrace.
That's right.
Lifestyles that the church don't embrace. Because, look, first of all, okay, the church's responsibility, in my humble view, the church's responsibility is to make sure my politics with the Lord is right.
Right, your heavenly politics
is right. My heavenly politics with the Lord is right.
Right.
But long as my black ass is down here on this planet,
how about that?
Then I can't be pigeonholed. Right. Especially when I'm coming up in the country, and I'm living in the country, and my family's living in the country, my grandchildren living in the country, that historically has been hostile towards us.
Right. Right.
So I can't. I'm not saying that religion, the pastors, the imams, and all them, I'm not saying that they don't have their role to play when it comes to this. But as a demographic, we can't be hamstrung by this. Right. Because we're gonna be, and it's been shown, we're gonna be the losers. What happens is that because we haven't matured like we should, then you got these politicians, black and white, who treat us like children.
Right.
Which is the reason why Obama, when he was running the first time, y'all heard me say this, why he was able to come to the black community and never discuss policy. Why Hillary Clinton felt that she can go on one of the biggest hip-hop radio venues in the country, and instead of talking about policy, talking about hot sauce.
Right.
See, because what happens is that we start to be treated like children. And if you play your politics like your children, that's how they're going to respond to you.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things that we have to unlearn. There's a lot of things that we're going to have to learn, and we're going to have to forget, or we're going to have to, we're going to have to realize that everybody in this country, white people, black people, women, gays, whatever, when it comes to politics and agenda, they ain't got no friends.
That's right. Everybody else has realized that but us.
They ain't got no friends. If you with us, you with us. But if you ain't, you ain't. We are the only ones that sit back here and say, even when we get shot down in the garage, well, we ain't the only ones that got shot down in the garage. I mean, Native Americans get shot down in their garages too. White folks get shot down in their garages too. Okay, granted, they do. But right now, it ain't about them. Right now is the fact, especially when you take it where you look at your community. Like when we were talking about the story with Flint, Michigan. I mean, not Flint, Michigan. Ferguson still doing that racist shit.
Yep.
We're using the black community as an ATM.
That's
still
right.
Giving them overwhelming parking tickets and motor stop. Same way in D.C. You can go into a lot, Prince George's County. You can go to a lot of these jurisdictions and go up here in traffic court and find out there's still a lot of people of color.
That's right.
So okay. When I see that's not an anomaly. When I see that there is a systemic injustice here, then I ain't got time to worry about, well, they stop white folks too and give them tickets. Or they stop Native Americans too and they give them tickets. Yeah, they do. But right now, the systemic justice that I see, which means that those who represent me need to do something about that.
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean that I have to have everybody like me in order to go down there to City Hall or state government, whatever, and say, look, I'm tired of having to call the police and let them know I'm coming home.
Right, just so they don't shoot me.
Just so they don't shoot me.
and we have got to mature our politics past this weird obsession with things that are not the point, that are not the issue when it comes to black people. Circling right back around to our very first story. You know what? Whether you like Valerie Jarrett's politics or not, that doesn't have anything to do with Roseanne Barr being a racist. Roseanne Barr's a racist. Full stop. End of story. Beginning, end of story. There it is. That's it. Now, Valerie Jarrett's politics, Barack Obama's politics. The same people who were racist toward Valerie Jarrett, they were racist toward Barack Obama too. And they're wrong for being racist. But then we're talking about politics. Because those two groups of people, the racists hurt us in one way, in an obvious way. It's obvious how racists hurt us. We all know that. But see, politics and politicians hurt us in ways that we still will not admit openly, are still being actively done to us. And some of those politicians look like us. And we have got to stop believing that all of our skin folk are our kinfolk, especially in politics, because they're not. So we do have to be a lot more mature about the way we approach politics, and that affects global issues too. Yeah. And this is the last thing we're going to talk about tonight, and then we're going to be done. It is estimated by, what's the organization that put out this story? Do you have it over there? The 10 million Yemenis.
Yeah, I can pull that up.
10 million Yemenis are estimated to starve.
I got it. That's United Nations warning.
The United Nations warning, and this is all behind the U.S. supporting the Saudi led coalition of the war in Yemen. This is another reason why we need to mature our politics, because we need to stop believing people who are telling us who our friends are.
All right. Well, the story that I got here is that the Saudis have a blockade of Yemen, which continues to starve the civilian population of essential food and fuel. Sounds familiar?
Yeah.
The UN warns that an additional 10 million Yemenis could be brought to the brink of famine beyond the 8.5 million. Now, you know, Yemenis are Muslim. Saudis claim to be Muslim. You know, and you know, so all of this stuff, man. You know, all of this stuff about peace, love, and Muslim brotherhood.
Peace, love, did you just say?
Peace, love, and Muslim brotherhood. It's a bunch of crap, man. The Saudis, man. Look, let me tell you something. I said this to Jackie. Y'all wasn't privy to the conversation, but I said when Trump abandoned the Iranian nuclear deal, when he pulled out, the Saudis have been carrying on America's war against Muslims as a proxy.
Yes, they have. You did say that.
Because, you know, you can't have a bunch of American soldiers going in there and just running roughshod all through Muslim world. They learned that lesson.
Right.
So they said, no, we can't do that. So what we do is we'll get the Saudis to do it. So what did they do? They set the Saudis up by giving them the biggest arms package that they ever had.
Yes,
they already know what they planned. Look, y'all. It don't take a rocket scientist. They had already knew what they were going to get the Saudis to do. If you're going to go out and you're going to get your man and you're going to tell your man to go get something, you're going to make sure that he got the firepower to do it.
That's right.
So before the Saudis went and did this, the United States sold the Saudis the biggest weapon package that they ever had. Mm-hmm. Not as big as Israel now.
No.
Because first of all,
nobody can get as much aid as Israel.
Get as much aid, military aid.
Not military, no.
But the Saudis got all of this high-tech weapon from the United States. Stuff that they never got before. Mm-hmm. And so the Saudis went on this indiscriminate bombing campaign. I mean, very brutal. And hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. The Saudis just been just going. Now, mind you, now from a religious point of view, the Saudis are supposed to be the guardians of the two holy places of Islam, because Mecca and Medina is in Saudi Arabia. So the Saud family are they're the guardians of that. Okay, that means something in the Muslim world. So you take this same government that's supposed to be the guardians of the two holy places,
killing Muslims all over the quote unquote Middle East.
But we talked about how the Saudis, that's their history.
And we talked about that.
They came to power.
Check
they came
out.
to power massacring the Muslims. So that's how they got there. But let's look at this. So, in order to reward the Saudis for being the good lapdogs that they are to the United States, Trump and them pulled out of the deal. It wasn't because they didn't like the way that the Iranian deal was met. Look, these people aren't stupid. Why would a country, United States, that has thousands of nuclear warheads, right? So many nuclear warheads, they got rid of thousands of them and still got thousands left.
Right.
Knowing that Israel has 400 nuclear weapons pointed at Iran or wherever they got pointed at. So they all know this.
Right.
But they present to us, if they just get one, man,
it's over. Yeah, it's over.
Now, anybody who has any sense would know. Would I take a 22 and go up into the Metropolitan Police Department?
Take my pea shooter and go up in the 7th district and start opening fire.
A 22 and go up in the Metropolitan Police Department and talk about I'm here to take over. You know what I'm saying? So they already know that it's bullshit. But this is what they did, because it's all about money. It's all about oil. It's all about this. So they pull out of the Iran deal. Because Iran, under Obama, Iran was allowed to pump oil. That's why our gas prices were low. Because under Obama, the Iranians were allowed to get back into the oil game.
Ooh, make the connections now.
So what happened is that they put their oil on the market. And that brought the oil prices down. Now
Connect
all of a
those
sudden, here
dots.
comes Trump. I don't like the deal. We could get a better deal. We could this. Even though all the allies say, nah, man, you need to keep with the deal. Even though every sane person in the world said the Iranians are abiding by the deal.
Right.
There's really no need to pull out of it. There is a need when your loyalty is to big oil. And so what happens is that they pull out the deal. Iran don't pump the oil like they used to. Prices go up. Y'all see it now.
But who benefits?
But guess what happened?
What happened?
Our friends, the Saudis.
Oh.
So it was reported a couple of days ago, I think last week, that the Saudi government, they felt so bad for us.
What did they do because they felt so bad?
Americans paying all this
Oh
money.
my gosh. What did the Saudis do because they felt so bad?
Now, mind you even though our gas prices were high, we still ain't paying like other people in the world paying. But the Saudis, they felt bad.
What did they do?
And so what the Saudis did, they said, you know what? Americans should have to pay that much at the pump. So guess what? We're going to pump more oil.
Oh, really?
And so we're going to increase our production, put more oil in the market, because you Americans should be paying that much.
Do you think that's for free?
So it allows
Come on, y'all.
So it allows them, now that the Iranians is not putting the oil out like they said because Trump pulled out and because of the sanctions and stuff. So now the Saudis are pumping more oil, and the oil ain't free. So that means they get more money, But it's under the guise of y'all shouldn't be paying that much.
So you mean through all of this, all this Iran deal stuff was just a smokescreen? It was just a crafty smokescreen by the powers that be to give Saudi Arabia not only arms to fight our proxy war in the Middle East, but also to give them more money for their oil, to get them back in the oil game.
Well, see, the thing is this. See, it's all about maintaining the status quo, which Iran was threatening.
Right.
And so what happens is that in order to maintain the status quo, which means when I say status quo, I'm talking about in order to maintain American interests in the region, then you have to starve Iran. See, their major income is oil.
Right.
So if you ain't getting no money, that means you can't build your military.
That's right.
You can't do this, you can't do that. And if you're not making any money, or if you're not getting the type of money, then that means you can't provide for your people, which starts to foment instability amongst the people, which is what they're hoping for.
Which is exactly what they're hoping for.
So to starve them with the sanctions and starve them with that is basically to weaken them so they can't threaten American interests. And that's all it's about. It's about maintaining the status quo in the Middle East, keeping Israel strong, keeping Israel the strongest in that region, because Israel is a Western colonial outpost of white supremacy. So they're going to make sure that they are right. And the Saudis are basically the Uncle Toms of the Arab world.
Oh, my.
You know what I mean? So you don't see the Saudis. You don't see the Egyptians. You don't see none of these so-called Arab Muslim countries coming out in force against what Israel's doing to the Palestinians.
This is true.
They basically said screw the Palestinians. And they've been saying screw the Palestinians for the last couple of decades. So it has nothing to do with all of the stuff that they try to tell us. The fact that Israel, you heard this today on the radio, Jackie, and I don't think a lot of our audience know about this, that all of the Arab countries said to Israel that if you agree to the two-state solution, and if you start to make some changes, I think go back to the 67 border or whatever stuff, and just live within international law.
Right.
All of the Arab countries said that we would not only recognize Israel as the right to exist, but we will also open trade with you and everything else.
Right.
Israel denied it.
We did. We heard that. We heard that on the radio today. What was that? WPFW.
Yeah.
Heard that on WPFW Pacifica radio station. So this business about Palestinians not wanting peace and the Arab countries don't want peace and the Arab countries want to destroy Israel, that's a lie. But see, these lies have to be fomented so that we ignore things that our so-called allies are doing. And our allies like Saudi Arabia, like you said, are nothing but the lapdogs of the United States.
That's all they are.
So that these lies have to be fomented, perpetuated, and fomented so we ignore the fact that the UN estimates that 10 million Yemenis will starve to death with the end of this year.
Yep.
This is why
with our tax dollar.
Because the blockade. How is the blockade paid for?
The blockade is paid for with our tax dollars, and all of the death and destruction that the Saudi military has done has been by American-made weapons. So I guess this needs to be said. We ain't innocent, man. I get sick and tired of us. I get so sick and tired of us, man. Playing clueless, man. Like we ain't got nothing to do with none of this. And I'm not just talking about conservatives. I'm talking about so-called liberals, progressives, whatever you want to label yourself. I just feel like, I'm tired of this game of, we ain't got nothing to do with this. If you work and you get a paycheck and you look and you see that FICA and everything else taken out, we ain't innocent. We're funding this war machine. And the fact that we don't come out en masse like we should to shut this war machine down then I mean, come on. If you're a Yemeni family, I mean, it's so bad in Yemen that people are afraid to get married because they don't want their wedding parties bombed. Wow. People aren't getting married because they're afraid that if they celebrate, they would be bombed by the Saudis and just be written off as what we thought it was a terrorist gathering. I mean, these are American-made bombs. They're not coming from North Korea. These are American-made bombs. These are politicians that a lot of us voted for that's signing off on this and saying, yeah, we want to sell $3 billion worth of weapons to Saudi Arabia, knowing what they're going to do with it. But we got this attitude where we just sit back and say, well, we pretend like we're not a part of this, and we are. This government doesn't make it. This government, it gets its funding from us.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So and if we're not out there making our voices known and saying, look, man, we don't want 10 million Yemenis starving to death on our watch. We don't want our names attached to that. We don't want 10 million Yemenis being starved to death because we decided that Roseanne's tweet was more important than what the government is doing in our name and lying to us when they get on TV and telling us that it's about national security. It's not. I mean, as I said, we're not innocent. I'm not innocent. And that's the reason why Jackie and I, when we get the opportunity, man, it's only two of us, but when we get the opportunity, that's why, man, we go out and we try to do everything we can. We show up at these embassies, we try to participate what we can, and still got to work to earn a living. But we do this because we understand we're not innocent. We understand we're not innocent. Unless we do something, then we're just as bad as our government that continues to sign off on death and murder, man. It's more smart now, though.
Right. Right. Smart bombs.
Smart bombs and stuff. But, man, at the end of those smart bombs, man, are real lives that's being destroyed.
Yep.
So, anyway, I said my rant.
So this is why we cannot be distracted by these side issues and lose focus on what the important issues are. Yeah, calling out Roseanne's racist tweets, absolutely necessary. What she said is racist. Period. End of story. And then there is all of this other stuff that we need to be putting our attention and energy and intellect into and behind, and we need to be mature about these issues politically and stop believing every meme that comes from your favorite online source. Investigate. You're on the internet. Do the research.
For real.
Stop being lazy. Stop learning shit by memes. Stop that. Verify stuff.
Don't believe the hype.
and don't believe the hype. That's all we got to say. We've been going on long enough, y'all. Thanks so much. You got to get up 4 o'clock in the morning. I got to get up with him to make his lunch.
Before we go, next week, please be here. We have Dr. Tommy Curry, who is the writer of The Man Not. And Friday tomorrow, I'll be speaking to somebody tomorrow.
Yes, I have not confirmed yet, so I'm gonna hoping I can get her on tomorrow.
Pitbulls of Politics Saturday 9:30
on Spreaker.
That'll be fun.
Yes.
And, so anyway, thanks for joining us, and y'all know the drill. Look, man, we only could do this with your support. And for those of you who think, and I'm going to remind you again, we have not abandoned the documentary. We're working towards it. Our producer and all for Coppola have to put it in the vault until we get some dough to do it. But we're going to work on it, man. I mean, we're going to do this until it gets done. So we didn't abandon the project. So anyway, Jackie.
So thank you all so much for being with us tonight, live in Coffee, Current Events, and Politics in Luqman Nation. Again, follow us on YouTube. Those of us who are over there on YouTube, we see y'all. Thank y'all very much for joining us. Consider supporting Luqman Nation either through monthly contribution on Patreon or one-time donation through GoFundMe. Find us on those platforms under Luqman Nation, LuqMannation. Share this video, invite your friends. Thank you very much for joining us, and as always, be really good to each other.
And kick them bums out of office.
Oh, yeah, that too. Good night, y'all. Thank you.